Let's view it like this. There is a God-designed, God-created order of things, right? Relationships, sex, marriage, that kind of stuff. A God-designed. And when he created man and woman, when he created man and woman, he blessed them. They were under the blessing of God. So this umbrella, and in Jewish history, in Jewish tradition, there is something called the huppah. Say huppah. Huppah. Some of you probably spit out phlegm, and I get that. Huppah. And in weddings, they would be married under the huppah, which represented the covering and the blessing of God, that this marriage is sacred. It is cherished and sacred and covered and blessed by God. Anything can happen under the covering of God and the blessing of God, especially in marriage, right? So anything outside of the covering is not blessed. It's not blessed by God. And a lot of times when we're in trouble and we're like, all of a sudden all hell breaks loose in our life, we then go run to God. And he's there. He's always there for you. But what I challenge you and challenge us, that would we stay living under the blessing of God. Can you see me? Is this like all of a sudden ruining everything? See, relationships were designed by God, a created order. Blessed by God. Genesis 1-3 says this. In Genesis 1, it says this. I think it's on the screen. But Genesis 1-3, God defines gender. Here we go, ready? God defines gender, marriage, family, and sexual relationships. God defines it, Genesis 1-3. You can read it, and I would implore you to read it. And if you want more scriptures about anything that you're challenged with, Instagram me, Jon Hohm, Jon-Hohm. Instagram me, and I've had many conversations with a lot of students, and I love it. Remember I told you I'll give you my life because I want to see you discipled and living a long obedience in the same direction towards Jesus. So Genesis 1 says this, God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. So your gender is a gift from God. Your gender is a gift from God. Satan has stolen sexuality. Satan has stolen a generation. Satan has stolen many things, many things. But in the Bible, God says, I created man, male, female. Listen, Satan is so crafty. He's created 32 different identities you can identify as in this generation right now. 32 different identities that you can say that I identify as. Your gender was God's gift to you. Your gender was blessed by God. Created in the very image of God. Second, God's plan for sex is marriage between one man and one woman becoming one flesh. It's called the one flesh union, united in a marriage union, a covenant, a blessing of God between one man and one woman. Again, Satan wants to lie. The father of lies wants to lie to you. My heart for you students is this. This is discipleship at its finest right now. I'm giving you things to stand upon, God's word to stand upon. Remember, I said you're gonna have to wrestle the answer to this. Do you believe it or do you not believe it? That's your wrestle. That's your fight. But I have been called to give you the truth and the truth of God's word. The union is God's true, good, and beautiful plan. Anything outside is not blessed. Anything outside is not blessed. See, sex, a lot of times when we were growing up, the church would kind of teach about it and they would say sex is bad. Sex is bad outside of the context of God's design. But sex is good. In the context of God's design, sex is beautiful. It's between husband and wife, and a covenant that they have entered in, an intimacy that they share. And my desire for you is that you would experience that one day when you're married, that you would truly understand and you would look back and say, you know what, that Jon Hohm, he wasn't stupid. He wasn't stupid. he actually made some sense. The Bible actually makes sense. Simply put, God owns the copyright on sexuality, gender, marriage, all of it. He owns the copyright. So the one who designed it gets to define it. The one who designed you gets to define you. No other person gets to call you whatever, and listen to this. This bullying junk right now, the name calling, that's identity shaping, students. There is power in the tongue. And so you calling somebody gay, you calling somebody whatever, there's power in your tongue that is identity shaping, and all of a sudden creating confusion, creating like lies, and the enemy's trying to get a foothold in someone's life and begin to shape an identity that God never intended. So how dare us call anybody any name? Any name. Calling them stupid. No, they are masterpieces designed for a purpose, with a purpose. Each and every one of us, you are not dumb, you are not ugly, you are not, listen, you are God's creation in His image, beautiful, and dare I say, perfect in His sight.